Of the Planning Commission to order. May we have the roll call?
Thank you. Commissioner Lively?
Here.
Commissioner Whitmer? Here. Commissioner Lane?
Here.
Chair Christensen?
Here.
And Commissioner Quinlan is excused.
Next item is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. I have one correction. If I can find what I did with it. Oh, here we are. On the third page, down near the bottom where it says Commissioner Lively and Chair Christensen both think that more site work is needed. I think, at least for me, Phil, my point was that more clarification of the site work is needed for the commissioners to make a decision on the application.
That's fine.
With that correction, may we have a motion to
So moved.
approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Now is the time for public comments. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on a subject that is not on the agenda, they may. They'll be limited to 3 minutes.
They have their speaking cards too?
We're handing out numbers. I see no one volunteering, and therefore we'll pass on to commissioners' reports.
Lisa, do you want to volunteer or do you want me to ask?
I will cover it under staff reports, but you can certainly ask and get the credit for bringing it up if you wish.
I just was asking Lisa if she could explain to us what the procedure is going to be for the Little League, and also what, if she knows what the details are, plan to establish some kind of a master plan for the community center area. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have nothing to report.
No? I don't, this isn't a report, but I think I raised a question on the agenda of our meeting in regard to the Sutherland property. It says to allow the removal of one heritage tree. I believe it should say 2. That's on the public hearing.
Correct.
There being no other commissioners' reports, we call upon you, Lisa, for staff.
Thank you. I'll just do a couple of quick updates and then respond to Commissioner Lively's question. For the Carton Field, the Menlo School and Menlo College project, as I reported at the last meeting, the City Council did authorize the contract for Lanfear Gregory to prepare an EIR for that project. And we did have the scoping meeting. It was pretty well attended by the immediate neighbors, the ones we expected that would have some concern. And a lot of the comments were relating to noise and traffic and parking, as we expected as well. There's the proposal to have a new driveway on the El Camino Real access, and some of the residents from Isabella are concerned that that may have more overflow parking in their street and have people walk in through that gate. So there's a lot of operational issues that Menlo School and College really need to resolve so we can fully analyze the impacts associated with the project. And then obviously the noise issue, as you're all well aware. So that analysis is moving forward, and it will have a review of the draft environmental impact report at a hearing where we have public comments. We'll respond to those comments, and then you'll review and make a recommendation on the final environmental impact report and up to City Council. For the Sacred Heart project, you had a couple of questions from commissioners about the status of the master plan, so we gave you the latest update to the master plan, but I'll go ahead and have Neil maybe prepare a little memo on the status of the Sacred Heart project and what the application is, and make sure that you have all the information you need ahead of the time. And they're looking at preparing a mitigated negative declaration for that project. So we'll transmit that to you shortly. For the Little League project, staff prepared a process memo that was reviewed at the last city council meeting just a week ago. And the direction is for Little League to continue to meet with staff, specifically Mike Kashawagi of the Public Services Department, to talk about what exactly is the project and the parameters of that project. Once they've kind of resolved exactly what the project is, you know, hours of operation, who's gonna do the maintenance, what's it gonna look like, how's it gonna be situated, all the improvements that are involved in it, then they'll revise plans if necessary. And at this point, we have it planned for the March Planning Commission meeting for review. Based on some comments at the hearing, the item will also go to the Park and Rec Commission first for their input, so that they can give you input for your consideration at the March meeting. And if everybody can check their schedules for February, March, just to make sure we have good commissioner attendance at those meetings, and let me know if you have any conflicts. So Little League, and then Town Center, there was also a process memo, but not quite as specific as the Little League process memo, and that talked about disbanding both the Town Center Committee and the Library Committee, which the council said yes, they intend to do. I think the formal action will be at the next meeting when they revise the resolution of the committees and commissions. And then there was interest in forming a new committee. And so I believe the city clerk was given direction to advertise for that new committee. What I heard from the discussion was that staff would lead the process for the design of the master plan, and how it would have a lot of community input as well as a committee input as well. But I think we need a little more details on that project for me to report back to you. I think that's all I have. Do you have any reports, Kevin, Andrea? Okay. Thank you.
The firm is to do the EIR for the minimal athletic fields. Is that the same one that did the EIR before, for the library?
No, it's a different firm. It's Lanphier Gregory is the firm, and we did have interviews with several firms, and we felt they were superior specifically on the noise and the traffic issues, which we're most concerned about. We were really impressed with their noise sub-consultant as well as their traffic sub-consultant. I believe the traffic sub-consultant, though, was the same one that was on one of the other EIRs, Mark Crane of Crane Transportation or Crane something. But he's very familiar with the area, does very detailed traffic analysis. I've worked with them in another jurisdiction, and I appreciated how detail-oriented they were and how thorough in the analysis.
One question before which really should be at a future meeting of the Planning Commission where we discuss the Little League proposal, is in view of the ballot measure and and detailing some of the improvements. How much latitude does the Planning Commission have in dealing with the application?
Well, you could certainly, you know, the item that's going to come before you, how we've intended to process it is an original conditional use permit was given to locate Little League at the park. And
Okay.
it was in the form of a conditional use permit. And the environmental review, I believe, Andrea, was a mitigated negative declaration, was done at that time. Unfortunately, record keeping wasn't the best, so I'm having a hard time pulling all those records together, but we do have the mitigated negative declaration. I cannot locate the use permit that was issued, but we do have the agreement that was approved by the city council for the use agreement.
The original one.
The original use agreement, not the conditional use permit issued by the Planning Commission. So I'm trying to track down as much historical information as we can. So how we intend to process it is as an amendment to a conditional use permit from the Planning Commission, because they're making changes to the field as was previously approved. And so that would be your review, and you can impose reasonable conditions as you see fit. If you do not feel it meets the purpose and intent of the zoning code or the general plan, then that's something you could certainly deny, and the city council would then take it up.
That sounds right. I'd like to add.
Might be tricky for the council to deny it, but.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they gave it down to us one point, we ought to go back to them.
The stands and the structure that they
The covered
proposed
seating
to
area,
us,
yeah.
is that, can that be modified by the planning commission?
I think as long as you stick to what the voters have said they wanted,
Well, I don't know what I didn't write the ballot measure, but it seemed to me that it was specific, it stated that in effect a stadium, a covered stadium.
Right.
And that's fairly specific in my mind. In other words, you could not, planning commission could not say that the seating area and so forth should not be in the stadium form and covered. It seems to me that we, in view of the ballot measure, we don't have that much latitude.
you are going to be somewhat limited by that.
Right.
That said, some of the details, could certainly, are left to be resolved, but the bare bones of what they voted on, you would be limited.
To
So-
specific.
So as not to talk too much about an item not on the agenda.
Yes.
It sounds like what we'll need to prepare for you then is get you that specific wording from the ballot measure and probably also have an opinion letter from the city attorney as to the extent of your discretion and where you could make some modifications to the plan.
But didn't
That'll
you,
work on that.
Yep.
didn't you say that we're gonna process it as a change to the conditional use
Correct.
permit? So if in the conditional use permit, a covered stadium wasn't authorized, then it would seem like we would have some latitude from that point of view.
But we still have the ballot measure to
The
consider.
ballot
Yeah.
measure overrides everything.
Does it trump everything?
Trump, pretty far.
It certainly influenced the
So-
heck of it.
Yeah, so we'll include that information, and if you think of
Yeah.
anything else, just go ahead and let me know,
Yeah.
and that way we'll get you a real thorough staff report for your analysis. Thank you.
That'll be in March.
The March meeting, right.
Okay. We'll now move to item number 6. This item has for a continuance. Could we have a motion to that effect?
Motion to continue to February 27th meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes, and item number 6 is continued to our 27th February meeting. We'll go to the item that I'm sure you're here for. And staff?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. This item before you tonight is a request for a heritage tree removal permit for a coast live oak at 33 Emily Avenue. The oak is located immediately outside of the main building area on the left side of the lot. The owner is requesting permission to remove and relocate the tree as he feels that the roots and canopy of the tree will be better served in the proposed location. At the end of last year, a tree protection plan was approved for the site and a building permit was issued. Tree protection fencing has been installed and excavation for a basement has begun. The town arborist is confident that a tree can survive in the current location, however, does support the relocation of the tree as a means to prevent the heavy trimming required at its current location and allow for a larger root zone. The applicant has submitted not only an arborist report, but a letter from the company who would be moving the tree if approved, which outlines the procedure that they will follow. That's included as an attachment in your report. Staff is supportive of the request, and if the commission approves the relocation, staff is proposing the tree be inspected annually for 3 years by a certified arborist. If at any time the arborist finds the tree will not survive, staff is recommending replacement with 2 24-inch box oaks or 1 36-inch box oak. I'm available for any questions, and the town arborist is also going to be speaking to provide additional information on the application, specifically regarding the timing of the approval of the tree protection plan and this request.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'd just like to kind of go over the timeline of how this all happened, because I know there's been some questions about the fact that the construction has already started without a decision on the tree being moved. The owner and I met several times out at the site to discuss the possible location of the building and what could be done, to fit the building he desired into that location. Part of that procedure, we had the owner dig an exploratory trench at the proposed basement foundation and the proposed foundation for the garage. This trench, in digging the trench, we found that the root zone wouldn't be as affected as we thought. The root loss would be minor to moderate and well within what the tree could survive. At that time, on November 20th, we granted the permit for the construction. He'd already had the demo permit. Now the construction permit had been granted. And in the Christmas holiday, Rob applied for a relocation permit it was late December. He applied for that permit, and that's when Lisa was away for the holiday, so I didn't know if we had a procedure or not. So in the time being, I had him start putting things together, and one was the appraised value of the tree, to get his bids from tree movers, and a letter from the tree mover describing how they were going to move it, what kind of care we were going to take, and that kind of stuff. The appraised value I thought was critical in case we decided we wanted to do, if the tree was not to survive, if the commission wanted to make the replacement trees larger, to help fit the value of that tree. And so that was the timeline. That's why he had already started construction prior to the granting of the moving of the tree generally. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions of staff at this point? Thank you. Does the applicant wish to?
Well,
I assume you're the applicant.
I am, I'm the owner, and thank you for visiting the property and inspecting the tree, and I'm here to answer any questions. As hopefully you can see a picture, it's a beautiful tree. It's probably my favorite tree on the property, but I'm going to be spending a lot of money to ensure its success, because it is such a great tree. And with Kevin and his whole staff support and guidance, I recruited the best tree remover, Valley Crest. And, they're the most reputable, experienced, and, this thing is very important for me that it's successful, because it adds so much value to my property and so much value to the urban forest of what we're trying to do with Atherton. So, doing this process right is critical, and so I think we've accomplished that with all those reports. But I'm here to answer any questions you have, and appreciate you guys helping come to a decision.
Do we have any questions of the applicant? At this time, we normally have the public hearing where people can speak on the subject. However, there's no one here to speak on it, so we'll pass on quickly then to close any public hearing and to part of the process where commissioners state their positions or ask questions. I'll call upon you, Eric, to start.
Looks pretty straightforward to me. It doesn't, and the tree's gonna be taken care of, and we've got all the inspections done, and it seems like a reasonable location, so it seems like everything, all the homework's been done. I have no objections or comments, questions.
Okay. Mary Beth?
The only concern that I had was about digging the basement before we had the status of the the tree set up, but what can I say?
Once he decided he wanted to remove the tree,
Yeah,
or to move the tree, I'm sorry, that the work is only being done away from the tree, not to compromise the situation with the tree right now. You know, so the mover can get in and do his work without having a, a wall right there. So that's, they are working away from the tree in case whatever goes on. And one other thing is if the tree's not moved, they'll have to use some vertical shoring in that location to prevent, so they don't have to do so much overdig, the 45-degree cut. So that was something that I forgot. And that will all happen depending on how you guys vote today.
No?
I commend you on your willingness to move trees that size, and good luck.
I'm learning a lot in this process.
Yes, you are, we are too. I looked at the tree on Monday through the fence,
Oh,
saw
thank
where
you.
it was, and all wrapped in this red tape, and saw where it was gonna go, and I would approve the permit.
Yeah, it's a good time of year, basically.
Okay, I looked also through the fence at the gates on Sunday. It's beautiful. It's a very, very nice tree. I think this is a little unusual, at least in my mind, where somebody does not want to cut down the tree, but to replace it. And I don't think, in the time I've been on the commission, we've had an application like that. I am in favor of it. I think it's makes for a much better house plan, and the new location is certainly quite satisfactory. So I would vote in favor of it. You seem to have no questions or something. May I call upon somebody to make the motion, since you're senior, Phil?
Well, I'm gonna fix that somehow.
I'm catching up here.
I move the planning commission find that the proposed removal and relocation of one heritage tree at 33 Emily Avenue in Atherton would not be contrary to purposes and the intent of the general plan for the reasons outlined in the staff report, and that the commission approve the tree removal with the conditions stated in the draft heritage tree removal certificate.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? The application is approved for zip. Good luck on the replacement.
The only thing I might ask, is there any kind of posting in the neighborhoods that people know what's going on? Because sometimes people, I know when I've seen
Yeah, on
anybody
this-
work on a tree, they all get upset.
Sure, on this application, since it required consideration by the planning commission, we did a public notice to all property owners within 500 feet of the site.
Okay, all right.
And this is something you might want to consider when we bring the heritage tree ordinance before for your review. I'm not aware of this occurring in town previously. Kevin and I talked about it. Some cities allow tree relocation at the discretion of the arborist, and it doesn't require coming up to a planning commission level review. So something to keep in mind. I don't know if Kathy Husey Anderson approved these at staff level previously. She just didn't communicate anything to me. So this is the first one I've seen, and I felt it more appropriate to consider it as a removal. So something to think about when we get the ordinance before you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the planning commission meeting calendar.
And we'd appreciate if you would approve the meeting schedule, and that way it addresses our November and December change of events. And also you have all those dates, so if you're aware of any conflict you may have, please let myself know. And I think the chair would also appreciate being informed if you're unable to make a meeting.
Okay. Then we have a motion then approving the meeting schedule. How about you, Mary?
I move that we approve the planning commission meeting schedule for 2013.
I don't know if I can support that.
We've talked about it for a long time.
All right. I take that as a second.
That's a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The planning commission schedule is approved for 2013.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda would be,
I move to accept item 9.
okay,
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Quickie.
I wasn't gonna